Recording in progress.
Pressure आलाय किती? 8580.
Very good evening, everyone. Good evening, Anupama.
Evening, Sakshi. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
So I'm Sakshi Rora, once again back with you all on day 15 of Posifest 2024. I welcome each one of you and appreciate your presence every day, religiously being a part of Posifest 2024. Before we move ahead, I would like to give a brief introduction about Anupama, who will be leading the session today. Anupama Pradhan is a certified neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner and trainer. She is an ICF ACC coach and a certified NLP life coach, and through her organization Inner Shift, works with people who wish to create positive changes in their lives. She conducts NLP-based workshops which empower people to break past limiting beliefs and create better relationships at home and at work. She's also a certified mindfulness and happiness trainer who has over the years conducted sessions for organizations like Tech Mahindra, MIT School of Distance Education, St. Xavier's College, Mumbai Army Wives Welfare Association, Rotary Clubs. Anupama is a people's person who thrives on interacting with people and is ever willing to learn from them. She also works one-to-one with people to help them achieve their goals. A very warm welcome to you, Anupama. We are very happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Sakshi, and a very good evening to all of you. I see they're all almost all ladies today, right? I would request that for whoever it is possible, please do keep your videos on because we shall try to make this a little activity-based session wherever I can do that. So today I will be talking to you about empathy and compassionate leadership. And so I hope that by the end of the session, we are able to understand how compassionate leadership can drive productivity in an organization. So when we think of leaders, we normally think of somebody who's very smart, somebody who's an excellent strategist, somebody who has this futuristic vision, who looks at the larger picture, someone who's very decisive and an action taker. But if you think about it, these abilities are mostly associated with the head, you know, uh, not with the heart. And compassionate leadership, on the other hand, is where the heart comes into play. So that is where you're using the head as well as the heart in such a manner that you are able to inspire and influence people in such a manner that they in turn inspire and influence others. And that is something every organization can strive to achieve. Now, before we go into understanding what compassionate leadership is, let's understand, the difference between. So we've heard these three words: sympathy, empathy, compassion, and they're all different. So let's understand what they really mean and what is the difference between these three. So allow me to share my screen. Now, if you look at the definition, uh, sympathy. Yeah, there it is. Sympathy is where we feel pity or sorrow for other people's misfortune. It is like saying you see somebody, oh, that poor child, he's begging on the street. I really feel sorry for him. And that's it. You know, Empathy is where we are able to understand why they are going through what they're going and share their feelings. In like the same beggar child, if you were to see that child and say, or a beggar child or somebody who's selling, they sell pens on the uh, crossings. You say, oh, this child has to earn extra to help his family. That's why he's selling pens on the traffic signals. Compassion is where we take action to prevent or alleviate their suffering. It's like, okay, there are these children who are selling things on the traffic signal, and because of that, they're not able to go to school. So can I do something for them which will, help them? So maybe I start a school for them or an evening class for them, under the flyover. I run a little classroom for them. So I'm doing something for them. So if you look at it, the difference between these three is based on what we do about it, right? So sympathy is where there is only a thought, whereas empathy is where there's thought and feeling, and compassion integrates thought, feeling, and action. Now, so when we are going to be talking about empathy and compassionate, leadership, we're going to see how it's not just a thought about feeling for your employees, but it's also what action do you take to make their life easy. And that's what we're going to look at. But before we look at that, I have a little story that I would like to share. Now, I think there is no Indian and definitely no Mumbaiite who has forgotten 2611, right? When 2611 happened, uh, terrorists attacked the city of Mumbai, which is the financial capital, and they wanted to make a statement. And one of the places which was attacked and which actually became the symbol of the 2611 attack was the Hotel Taj Palace. We all know it's an iconic hotel, and it is a hotel it's a heritage hotel. Now, what had happened in that on that day? So just let's take a little insight into what happened on that day. On that day, in the different restaurants and different banquet halls, there were many, in addition to the guests who were staying, there were many events that were going on. Just to share that in one of the banquets hall on the second floor, the Unilever CEO, worldwide CEO, was there, and all the senior executives and senior managers of Unilever with their wives were there for a dinner, because there was the new CEO was coming in and there was a changeover happening. So you can imagine that this was a very high level dignitaries dinner going on. And so when they heard, the first shots were fired, initially they thought they were firecrackers. But very interestingly, one of the very junior managers over there, she was just 26 at that age, not even 26, I think 24, Malika, her name was. She realized that this was something wrong. And what she did was she ordered that all the doors should be shut down, of that banquet hall. All the doors were shut down. They got all the guests inside to switch off their phones so that nobody could trace them. They got everybody to hide. She separated, and very interestingly, this is something which one would never think of. She separated the husbands from the wives, because she said if there are casualties, husband and wife both shouldn't come become casualties together. She separated them into different parts of the room, and she told them to be absolutely quiet. Now, this is one. In another room, okay, the restaurant Wasabi, there was a waiter named Thomas Verghese. He had been the senior waiter. He had been with the Taj Group for 30 years. So he was like a veteran waiter over there. And there were 50 guests in the restaurant at that point of time. They got all their guests to hide, and the staff of Taj Palace, which was in the restaurant, they formed a human shield around the guests over there. And while this was happening, the deputy manager, Mr. Kang, he was in a conference somewhere else in one of the other hotels. He came immediately back to the hotel in spite of the fact that it was being attacked, because one of the cultures of the Taj Group is that the GM has to be on the floor in the every day. So he came back. Now, overall, there were a lot of casualties that would take place. But interestingly, 11 employees of the Taj Group died, and but they managed to save almost close to 1,500 guests. Now, what makes an employee do that? And that is the interesting thing. It is because of the faith that they have in the management, of the company, that in spite of the fact that they might lose their job, their families will be taken care of. And that dedication and that trust that is there in the organization, in their employers, that the employees had, made them go over and above, in their service to their guests. Now, Ratan Tata, who is the leader uh, of the Taj Group, at that point of time, right after this incident happened, there was a trust that they set up, and they said the Taj Group will pay for all the injured, whichever hospital they may be. And it wasn't just the injured at the Taj Palace Hotel, it was the injured all across Mumbai. It did not matter whether they were injured at the Leopold Cafe or the hospital or anywhere. uh, Wherever the attacks took place, wherever people were injured, whether they were policemen, whether they were guests, there were patients in the hospitals, wherever it happened, the Taj Group paid for their treatment everywhere. And this was done by forming a trust. And that trust today, the Taj and the Tata Trust today, pays for people who have died in any natural calamity or terrorist attack anywhere in the country. They have paid for people, they have looked after and paid for people who, flash floods in Uttarakhand or in Ladakh, all of these places. Now, this uh, uh, this leadership approach that Ratan Tata has is a shining example of how compassion and vision can drive positive change and how it can support the employees. And in fact, in 2008, when there was a global crisis, there was not a single layoff from anywhere in the Taj Group. All the employees were retained. So even in times of job insecurity, the employees knew that they were safe. Now, by prioritizing the well-being and the needs of the employees, this is why leaders like Ratan Tata become inspirational. They inspire and they motivate their teams not only to overcome challenges, but to emerge stronger and more resilient. Now, this is one example, and in India, if we were to go to see, we have many more such examples. We have Mr. Anand Mahendra, we have our late President Abdul Kalam, who was also a very inspirational leader and a very compassionate leader who really respected their teams. So now, having told this story, let us now see what are the benefits of of compassionate leadership. I'm going to be sharing my screen once again. Do any of you have any story about compassionate leadership that you have come across? Feel free to share. I think the Taj Group stands out as an example. This is one group, and I think the latest example of compassion, I think, is how they have opened a veterinary hospital for stray dogs in Mumbai. I don't know how many of you are aware, but there is a veterinary hospital for stray dogs. So, I mean, it's not just about leadership, it's about showing compassion to all uh, living beings. So, let's now just talk about the three main benefits of leadership. The first is there is enhanced employee engagement and well-being. Now, when we are talking about employee engagement, what do we mean, right? So, where the leaders are uh, connecting with their employees, understanding their requirements. Now, these are compassionate leaders, they prioritize the emotional well being of their employees. And not just do they prioritize it, they do it in a manner where they create a support system and a supporting environment where these employees then feel valued, they feel respected. And because of this, since there is a higher level of engagement, interaction, the employees are motivated and there is a higher job satisfaction. Now, wherever you see that the employees feel cared for and understood, they're going to be more committed to their work. So, if the top management shows that they care for the employees, they feel that the employees feel understood, where they are able to speak up and share what they require, they are more likely to be committed and they will do extra for the organization so that the organizational goals are achieved. Also, research has shown that such organizations where the employees feel valued and supported and satisfied with their job, there is less attrition. I mean, people don't leave those jobs easily. So they have shown that so the Gallup, which is one of the organizations which conducts studies across organizations, they have shown that not only there is less attrition, like people leaving jobs, but there is a higher productivity and almost 21% greater productivity for the organizations if they feel that they are supported. So this is one of the benefits for the organization as well as for the employees when we are talking about how compassionate leadership helps. Now, the second one is improved collaboration and innovation. Now, compassionate leaders are the leaders who encourage open conversations, open communications. There is trust and there is teamwork within the team members. Now, in an atmosphere like this where people feel safe, and when I say safe, it is psychological safety that we are talking about, where they feel safe and comfortable sharing their ideas, even ideas where they're taking a risk. You know, people are not fearful that if I share my idea, I will lose my job. So that is what we call being a safe, feeling psychologically safe, where they will not feel judged or victimized. So wherever in organizations where such idea sharing, such open conversations are encouraged, you will find that these leaders are able to create innovation and a kind of an environment where there's innovation and where there's creativity. Now, the employees, they're allowed to experiment. They're empowered to experiment. In fact, not just allowed, but empowered. They're encouraged to experiment. And when they, if they fail, say learn from their failures and to collaborate effectively to solve the challenges that come across. So when people have this safety, which is promoted by the leadership, it leads to more effective team collaboration. People are able to engage with each other better. They are more creative. They are more innovative. And studies show that such diverse teams, which is fostered by the leadership, which is very inclusive, because they're open to ideas and conversations. They include everybody. It's not about, I am a leader, so what I say is right. These kind of organizations where they take in and consider what perspectives are coming up from the teams, you find that these companies are more adaptive to change. And because they're more adaptive to change, they they prosper. And companies which have this kind of a culture, they outperform all the other companies, or which are their peers in the market, okay, in terms of innovation as well as in the financial results. And this is again, studies have shown this. The third benefit of compassionate leadership is a positive organizational culture and performance. We've already seen the example of the Taj Group. Now, when we talk about positive organizational culture, we see that if there is a culture of compassion and empathy which is driven by the leaders, then what happens is the overall performance of the organization improves. And so, not just the performance improves, the relationships between the organization, the members, the various teams, it leads to positive relationships. There is reduced conflicts because people learn to interact with each other with more compassion, with more understanding, with more empathy. And this also increases the loyalty and the retention rates. Again, we are going back to retention rates, because if there is a positive organizational culture, people don't want to live. It becomes one of those, best places to work kind of a place. Now, organizations which are led by these compassionate leaders, uh, they show higher productivity, profitability, and a long-term success, because the team is motivated, because the workforce is motivated, and they're cohesive. They work together as a team. They don't just work for themselves, they're working for the organization. Their values become aligned to that of the organization, and they are able to give much more in terms of their time, the effort, and therefore they ensure that the organization succeeds. Now, organizational cultures which are promoting compassion and empathy, they have less absenteeism. People don't bunk work as much because they enjoy working. The workplace becomes a place where they want to go, they want to work, and because of that, naturally, if all the employees are turning up for work, the turnover rates are going to be higher. Companies where there is a strong culture of trust and respect towards their employees, they're more likely to attract and retain the top talent. So you will very rarely find people leaving, companies which have good cultures. Not only that, people would want to work for such companies. Top talent will actually want to work for such places and such organizations. Now, if we were to talk about research again, the Harvard Business Review has said that high performing organizations which have a high performing culture have higher revenue growth and profitability. So you see that the culture is directly related to the profitability of the organization. And hence, having compassion towards your employees from the leadership perspective. And when we say leadership, like it starts from the top downwards. If there's a culture of compassion, empathy, and understanding and respect, top downwards, you find that the profitability of that organization increases. So it not only benefits individuals or the individual well being or the team dynamics, it helps build a very resilient and a thriving organization as well. Right? Any questions so far? Yeah. Okay. So I shall move on now. So
Okay, we have a
yes,
question.
yes, Vajanti, please.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I resonate with what you're saying because I just had been to the Taj Palace for 2 days in month of June, and I have seen it myself how efficiently those people work, how satisfied they are, and I know since a long time that the Tata people are always like they stick on to that particular job for years together. I've seen multiple times. So my question was, how do you increase the this compassionate behavior in leaders?
We shall come to that because that's a little later. We'll be coming to that. And thank you for that question because I will be addressing that. Also, what is very interesting and which I don't know how many people know that the Taj Group, when they are recruiting people, they are recruiting people from the B towns, what we call as the B towns, the smaller towns. Like if there was a choice between recruiting somebody from Mumbai or Pune, they would pick up from Pune because Pune is a smaller town. What happens is when they go into the hinterland and they're picking up people from there, the best talent they're picking up from there, these people have this sense of loyalty and they actually so it's they have this sense of oneness, loyalty that is there, and the management encourages that, so they get people who already have a sense of values and loyalty, and then they encourage that through their compassion, and the leadership, the way the leadership works encourages that. So that is also one of the ways. Now how we can create compassionate leadership, we will take a look at that in just a little while. In fact, that is the next question. Like, how do we create compassionate practices, right? How do we create a compassionate workplace, right? Now, creating a compassionate workplace, it involves creating an environment where empathy, understanding, and support are integral. Like, it is a given that this organization, these are the values that are driving the organization: empathy, understanding, supporting the well-being of our employees. Now, these are the organization which enhance the employee well-being, and in fact, they prioritize employee well-being and satisfaction, and therefore boosting their productivity, their collaboration, and the overall organizational success. Now, let's look at three main ways in which we can create a compassionate workplace. The first is to foster open and empathetic communication. Now, what do we mean by open and empathetic communication? Now, the first thing is encourage open dialogue. Allow now, if a culture, the organization has a culture where people feel safe to express their thoughts. Now, when we are talking about thoughts, their thoughts and their concerns. Now, it may go against what the leadership might be thinking, okay, or maybe some decision that is going to be taken, which an employee feels may not be aligned with them. So they don't encourage, rather, I won't say they don't encourage yes men. They don't want yes men. They want people who will think and express themselves. So if they feel something is not right for the organization, if the employee feels safe enough to speak up and say that I don't think this is going to work for the organization, compassionate workplaces encourage this kind of conversations. And this is very, very important, right? So when people are free to express their ideas, their thoughts, and their fears without the fear of judgment or retribution. And it shouldn't be that मुंह खोला तो मेरी नौकरी चली जाएगी. You know, they're not like that. Organizations which encourage open conversation, they understand that if their employee is saying, bringing up an idea, it might be worth listening to. So whether it is their team meetings, whether it is open door policy, there are many ways in which they have this. In fact, they can even have anonymous feedback channels. They encourage systems where, when I don't want to say who I am, but I know that something might work or something is going wrong, but I want this communication to go up. They may create channels in such a way where people are able to communicate. And there is also an open door policy. Like if I am in need of some help or some support, I can walk into my manager's office and literally knock on the door and say, may I come in? I need to share something. If this kind of a communication is there, this is one of the ways in which they encourage, you know, the organization encourages compassionate practices, one of empathetic communication. So this is the first. The second way is where they say, you practice active listening. Now, active listening. Now, my employee has come in and he or she is sharing what they are undergoing, that there is some challenge, whether it's a personal or professional challenge that they're undergoing. I will put aside whatever I'm doing and say, yes, sit, I'm here to listen to you. And that is what we call active listening. So, giving that time, giving that attention to your employee so that they are able to share what they're going through. Okay. So, not only are we acknowledging what they are saying, we are responding thoughtfully. Um, this kind of listening, empathetic listening, it builds trust. Now, if I feel heard and I feel safe to be heard, then it's going to strengthen my relationship with my manager, maybe even with my colleagues, depends on whom I am sharing this with. So, active listening is again a very, very important aspect of open and empathetic communication. And the third part of open and empathetic communication is giving constructive feedback. Now, very often we've heard of feedback. So, if I talk about feedback, there are three kinds of feedback. There is feedback which is given just to criticize. Right? People will tell you what you were doing wrong. This is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. The second one is people will just tell you whether it's good or bad and leave it at that. The third is constructive feedback. Now, the constructive feedback is where they tell you, where the manager or the senior supervisor, whoever is saying, you tell them what is wrong, and you can also tell them how it could have been done better. You highlight the strengths first. Tell them that this was good in what you did. And there were certain areas where you could make changes, you could make an improvement, and this is how you can do it. So when you give constructive feedback, it encourages that person, that employee, to do better. So it encourages growth, it encourages development, and of course it's very important that this feedback is given at the right time, you know when it's required. It's not that, oh, I wish I had told them that at that time. It happened, tell. Okay. The second way in which we can create a compassionate workplace is to promote and uh, prioritize employee well-being and support. Now, how can we do that? A lot of organizations do have wellness programs. You know, they offer resources like they may have counselors, they may have coaches coming in who are going to be helping people, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional well-being. They can include health and wellness initiatives. In fact, health and wellness is a very important aspect of employee engagement these days. Um, so people have access to mental health services, and this helps promote a work-life balance. You know, uh, they can give flexi working hours. And in fact, I think nowadays, thanks to COVID, where one learned to work from home, there are times they actually make allowances for people to be able, who may be caretakers or young parents who have, young children. They give them flexi working hours. And that also helps. That's also part of the employee well-being and support. The second part is where they are supporting the personal and professional growth of the employee. Now, continuous learning opportunities. Maybe there are courses or training programs that a person can attend so that they will benefit personally, as well as they will be able to help the organization. So learning and development initiatives that are taken up by organizations, they encourage their employees to pursue their interests and their career goals. So they offer training, they offer mentorship and advancement opportunities. In fact, they will tell that, there is an opening, or there's a particular training coming up. I think that will do well for you. Why don't you apply for that? The the senior managers will actually ask their team members to go forth and apply for these, uh, these kind of initiatives or programs that they may be running. And of course, one of the very important part of employee well-being is recognizing and appreciating contribution. Now, who doesn't like to be recognized? So if you have done work, good work, it has to be recognized. So regularly acknowledging and celebrating the employees' efforts and their achievements. So, uh, I don't know how many of you have seen, I mean, if you've ever gone to a McDonald's, you will see, star
Right.
employee of the month, and there's a board and the employee of the month and the photograph is put up there. That's just one of the ways in which you are actually encouraging the employees to do better. So when an employee feels recognized for their work, they want to do more. Yeah. So they want to do more. Uh, Now that can be a formal kind of, giving an award or recognition or bonuses. But even simple thank you notes, an informal way of recognizing an employee's effort, a thank you note will be really very useful, because showing up appreciation also fosters a very positive and supportive work environment. So that's another way in which organizations can actually create compassionate leaders, right? Create a compassionate environment. The third is to cultivate an inclusive and respectful environment. Now, one of the main important things is to value diversity and inclusion. Now, these are terms, right? Nowadays, you hear a lot about diversity and inclusion. And yes, it's very important, because people come. So, when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, people come from diverse backgrounds, people come from diverse perspectives. And if we can respect the diverse perspectives and the diverse backgrounds of the organization, the employees of the organization, then we can really create an environment where everybody feels respected. Nowadays, the DNI is also a lot about supporting the LGBTQ communities. It's about supporting women to come up, working mothers who are coming back to work, or a lot of inclusive and programs are being carried out within organizations, which are helping create that atmosphere where each and every individual feels respected. So the policies and practices that are there within the organizations which promote equality and prevent discrimination and harassment are implemented in such organizations, so that each and every employee feels valued and included. Also, creating a safe space for dialogue. Now, there are challenges that are there. Uh, there could be harassment at various levels. So, if employees feel that they are facing certain challenges within the workplace, uh, if they have a safe space where they can actually share what they are going through, their experiences and their challenges without the fear of negative consequences, then that is an organization which will do very well, which will really have employees who would want to stay with the organization. To encourage open conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion that helps foster understanding and empathy. And this is again one of the very important aspects of cultivating an inclusive environment. And the third is to model compassionate leadership, right? Uh, how do you model compassionate leadership? Now, if the leaders themselves actually become role models for the others within the organization by showing compassionate behavior, when they treat everyone with kindness, with respect, with fairness, then what happens is, down the line, everybody observes that if this is how our leader is, I want to be like them. So there is this modeling of compassionate behavior that happens. They're leading by example, and they show, and not only that, these compassionate leaders are not afraid to show their own vulnerability. They allow themselves to be vulnerable. They may share their own, like at some point of time, I faced these kind of challenges. What did I do then? So they're authentic in the way they are interacting with the employees that are working for them. Uh, So there's vulnerability, there's authenticity, and of course, there is a commitment to support the other team members, the well-being of every team member. So if any team member is facing a challenge, compassionate leaders will not feel shy about sharing their own experiences or sharing how they failed in their time and how they overcame their own challenges so that they were able to actually that will be inspirational for that individual, who's actually currently facing the challenge with whom they're having this conversation. So by fostering open and empathetic communication and prioritizing employee well-being and support, they can create this inclusive and respectful environment. They create a compassionate work culture, right? There's employee satisfaction, there's collaboration, and overall organizational success when we are able to create this kind of a work culture, right? Now let's come to the question: how can I become a compassionate leader, right? Me as a person. How can I become a compassionate leader? Is it possible for me to become a compassionate leader, right? For that, I'm going to ask, we're going to do a little activity. So if all of us can put on our screen a little bit and we'll just do a little activity, right? So all of us are in the workplace, right? Yeah. We all have been in the workplace at some point of time or are still working, right? I want all of you to just think of, okay, so how many of you have seen us lift, have you seen this weight lifting? We do, people do those, they lift weights like this, these dumbbells we lift. So can I request all of you to just lift an imaginary pair of dumbbells? It's a 2 kg dumbbell, right? Yeah, 2 kg dumbbell. Is everybody able to lift it? Yeah, okay, right. Bicep curls. Yes, thank you. We are doing bicep curls. Absolutely right. Okay, now I want you to just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and think of a time in your workplace where you felt really hurt because somebody said something very hurtful to you, right? Somebody felt really said something very hurtful to you. And that feeling, it was so bad that even today, if you think about it, sometimes it just hurts you. I want you to see that day, see what happened on that day, hear those words. And I want you to just connect to that feeling once again. And as you connect to that feeling, just keep in mind what that feeling is and keep your eyes closed and stay connected to that feeling. And I want you to do those bicep curls once again with the same 2 kg weights. Just stay connected to that feeling. Keep your eyes closed, just stay connected to that feeling and just do those bicep curls once again. Right? Okay. Yeah, you're connected. Those words are still resounding there. They're playing inside and just how you're feeling. Right. Okay. Thank you. You can just set that bicep, those down. And can you just open your eyes, take a deep breath, and let go? Yeah, let go. Okay. Okay, I want you to think of a time when you were praised. You were praised. You did a great job and you were praised. Just connect to that time when you were praised for something you did very well. And now, just go back to that day. Go back to that day, see that day, feel that day, connect to that feeling. And now lift the biceps, those weights again. Yeah, connect to that feeling. And maybe just try lifting a 5 kg dumbbell. Just see how it's going. You're feeling so good. I mean, you've done something wonderful. Everybody's praising you. Just pick up a 5 kg dumbbell. Right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Just set it down. I would like you all to share your experience of what happened just now. Could some of you just share? You can unmute and share your experience, please.
Yes, we have Vajanti.
Yeah.
Yes, Vajanti.
The thing is, as I wrote that I have never had this kind of an experience where I was hurt by somebody and all that, touch wood. But when I just tried to imagine if this would have happened, the dumbbell thing, or the bicep activity was going quite heavier and not so easy against wish. But when we are talking about something which somebody has praised and which probably has happened multiple times, I was just thinking about those incidences, and it was going very easy, dumbbells.
Right. Thank you, Vajanti. Anybody else? Anybody else who would like to share their experience?
We have Deepika who's messaged, there's definitely a shift of energy and you feel more positive.
Yeah. Thanks, Deepshika. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to share? Please.
When
Please.
you're praised, you tend to do something extra, something more, actually.
Right. Right. Yes. Thank you. So, one of the things that we can take away from this particular exercise is that words play a very important role in how we feel. Right. And the thing is, if we hold on to those words, if you hold on to the words that people have said, then we are going to, not feel as encouraged or feel as enthusiastic about what we are doing. So, one of the first things that I would say, if you want to actually become a compassionate leader, one of the first things we need to do is to be able to have a self compassion. Okay, practice self compassion. Now, do we make mistakes? Yes, we all are humans, right? We will make mistakes. But if we make mistakes and somebody tells us that we made a mistake and we just hang on to those words, and then what happens is we are hanging on to those words and then we are beating ourselves up more because of those words. We continue adding to them, right? And when we continue adding to them, what happens is we feel worse, right? Now, the thing is, I don't know, there's a very beautiful saying by Robert Kiyosaki. It is not what you say to everyone else that determines your life. It is what you whisper to yourself that has the greatest power. So, when we are talking about self compassion, what are we saying to ourselves when we make a mistake? Right? If I'm making a mistake, then if I'm talking about being kind to others, can I be kind to myself? Can I be understanding about myself? Right? So, allow yourself to make the mistake, but don't stay with the mistake. Learn from it and move. That's very important. So recognize that you are not perfect. Like we all are imperfect. None of us are perfect, right? So recognize your imperfections, recognize your mistakes, acknowledge that this happened, but it happened. It's in the past, right? Let's not get into harsh self-judgment, okay? And when we move away from this self-judgment and beating ourselves up about it, right? Then we allow ourselves to grow and learn. So self-compassion is very, very important, right? Another part of practicing self-compassion is setting boundaries, right? If people bring down my energy, I do not need to interact with them, right? Set boundaries about how they interact with you. Set boundaries about how they behave with you, right? Setting boundaries is also a very important part of self-compassion. Again, practicing mindfulness, being present in the moment, getting into some meditative practices, uh, seeking help when we need. As most of us shy away from seeking help because, and thank God that nowadays mental health is not seen as something, that has to be hidden or brushed under the carpet, and people are reaching out for help. But if you need support, reach out. There are counselors, there are life coaches. So, life coaches can help you, look past at what is not allowing me to grow in my workplace. Is it certain relationships at work that is not allowing it? Is it something that I'm, within me that's not allowing me to grow? Right? So seeking support helps you become more resilient, okay? And it also helps us manage the stress effectively, right? And very, very important aspect of self-compassion is to celebrate your achievements. Celebrate your achievements and your successes, right? With gratitude. that yes, I had the opportunity to do this and I was able to do it. Celebrate your success. And when you do it with gratitude, it reinforces your positive self-esteem, right? It reinforces your self-esteem and then it continues to motivate you to do better. There's more personal growth, more professional growth, right? And you're able to foster a more supportive and fulfilling work experience. So if we practice self-compassion, we are able to give more to the organization. The second thing is to enhance our understanding of others. The exercise we just did. Um, if we feel hurt when somebody says something to us, then what we say to others also makes a difference, right? And so how can we be more mindful of, other people and how they are feeling? I just want you to we'll do one more exercise, which may help you understand how we can, uh, be more mindful. Can all of you just think of a time when you had a conflict situation with anybody? A misunderstanding. It doesn't have to be a conflict as in a fight, but it could be a misunderstanding or a situation, a misunderstanding or a disagreement. So, do you remember a time? If you can think of a time where you had a disagreement, just give me a thumbs up. Those who cannot put on their screen, if you can remember a time when you had a disagreement with somebody and maybe it's still not resolved, just give me a thumbs up if you can think of a time. Yep. Thank you. I hope everybody has one memory, such memory, right? I just want you to just close your eyes and go back and think of that time. Think of that particular memory, right? Just close your eyes and think of that time when you had that disagreement. See that time, see that whole setting. Yeah, you are there, the other person is there, person or maybe more people there in the room, and hear the conversations, connect to the conversation and connect to the feeling that you had, right? Just connect to the feeling that you had when you had that. And now, at the count of 3, I want you to push this memory as if you're watching it on a TV screen, like you're watching a movie. Okay? 1, 2, 3. The memory is like a movie playing on a TV screen in front of you. Okay? Now you can see yourself and you can see the other people in it. Okay? What do you see? Just see what you see. When you see that time, see yourself, see how you are being, see how the other person is being. And maybe when you look at it, maybe some insights will come in. And just see, are there any insights that are coming in about what the other person was going through, what you were going through, what could have been done better? What could you have been, what is it that you could have done differently? And if you have that realization, just keep it, right? And whenever you're ready, you can just open your eyes. You can just come back to the room and open your eyes. Just want to know if any of you are able to see something different, any insight that came in about that situation, about that day. Anybody? Any insights that you got about that moment, that day?
So Dipshika wants to share.
Yes, Dipshika, please.
So Anupama, what I realized is I was looking at that person's perspective, and I think there was a little more compassion in my head for that person.
Right. And that's wonderful. And that's what we do. Very often in conflicts, we look at our own perspective. And if we are able to look at the other person's perspective and how they are feeling, then that is very useful for us because we feel compassion and we understand them better. Right. And that's exactly what we want to be. Did any of you feel anything differently? Please do share. Yes, Sakshi.
So, more than compassion, I felt like why did I why did I react in such a manner? Or if somebody had some kind of opinion, why did I take it to my heart?
Right.
Again, since I was actually in these thoughts since morning, I was already, so I felt like probably It's not even the fault, but it's situational that came during that time. That situation has passed by, but that conversation or that thing has stayed back with us for no reason. Maybe that person has also forgotten, has no intention to hold back regarding it, but we keep it to ourselves so harshly that, we, as we say, we are not compassionate to our own self for that particular thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Sakshi. Thank you. Yes, Vajanti.
Yeah, when we look into that particular scenario, we feel, oh, this was not needed actually. This could have been sorted out very amicably. It is only the two egos of the people, like I don't want to let go of my point, the other person doesn't want to let go of that point. So it's nothing major, it's only the two egos which actually bang on to each other.
Right. So true. We get different insights.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, Ashok, please share.
There are many times the things happen such a way that we are looking at the number 6. We are standing from one side, the other person is looking at 9. So what we see is I'm seeing 6 and that person is seeing 9. He's not wrong, I'm not wrong, but I'm not able to perceive his perception, what he's trying to say, and he's not able to do that thing. No.
Absolutely
So,
right.
so
Yeah.
that is the thing happens in most of the cases. So the only thing is we have to be very compassionate and just try to understand other people that even he is not wrong, accept
Right.
it, whatever it is.
Right. Right. Each person has their own perspective. Absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Anybody else who would like to share what you saw? Right. Okay. So how can we enhance, our understanding of other people? This is one very simple exercise. What we just did. Just look at it from a third person perspective, as if you're watching that situation on the screen. Now, if we can start doing it in real time, then we won't let the argument become an argument. We might able to, just what we call as just step back and watch yourself in the situation. There is so like Sakshi mentioned earlier, I'm an NLP coach, and in NLP we call this dissociation. You dissociate from yourself from that situation just for a moment and see what's happening over there, and then you realize, how am I being, how is the other person being, what can we do about this situation? So uh, now, so understanding others definitely involves understanding the other person's perspective, right? Actively listening to them, actively listening, because people have diverse, as many individuals, that many perspectives. Remember that, because no two people are alike. And listening to these diverse perspectives and to understand each person's experience is a very, very important part of becoming a compassionate leader. So, if I want to become a compassionate leader, I have to create this ability within me to understand, or to be willing to understand the other person's perspective, right? Respecting the other person's perspective and receiving their ideas and thoughts without judgment, right? Uh, how to empower yourself? One can always, there are many courses where you can go and, you can learn about how can we learn to understand other people's perspectives. NLP is one of them. Emotional intelligence programs, people do run. We can actually go and get trained, or simply start practicing by ourselves, right? How can we, when we can learn to have communication which is more empathetic, right? And create, improve our communication skills just by being more mindful about the words that we use. Like before, like if we are going to be having a difficult conversation with someone, like suppose I'm just going to take an example of, we are going to lay off someone. Okay. How is it going to impact the other person? How are they going to receive it? Can I first just sit and understand how is this person going to take it? And then use words so that I lessen the blow. You know, it is going to be a blow if somebody is going to be laid off, but can I lessen the blow? That is something we can be very mindful about, the words that we use, because remember, the words stay with the people, right? Um, we can create, understanding other people also, by creating a rapport. When you're going to have a conversation, there's a need to create rapport. You can do that by, uh, matching their energy, matching their body language, matching their breathing, all of these. And also reframing the situations, looking at them differently. We don't we always tend to give a certain meaning to a particular situation, and we respond to the meaning that we give. But can we look at that same situation in a different perspective, reframe it, right? Um, Also ask the right questions. Like when people say something, question it. Is this really true what they are saying? If it isn't, then why am I making it my own problem? Right? Or other, when people are there, ask them the right questions so that they understand themselves better. We can help people understand themselves better, right? So we can, by doing this, we deepen our connections with our team members, with people around us, and we cultivate an environment which is very inclusive, where everybody feels heard, everybody feels valued, because their perspectives are being heard. There's no judgment, right? There's mutual respect, there's collaboration, and thereby professional relationships are enhanced as well as personal relationships are enhanced in the workplace. Okay. And now let's look at the third important.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Anupama,
Yeah.
Vaijayanti has raised her hand, so I'm not sure if she wants to ask something.
Vajanti, please ask.
Yes, actually, my question, or I don't know, my uh, state of mind is when see, every human being is different. Now, people who are into the leadership category will have a different attribute altogether. Somebody who is originally a very kind-hearted, sympathetic, understanding person or a mature probably will have less trouble to get onto this practicing empathy. Somebody
Right.
who is really egoistic and is really not able to manage human beings and human sensitivities and all will have more trouble.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
So my question is like, many a times human beings, they themselves are not sorted out, and that's the reason their unpleasantness comes out in interaction with other human beings. So it affects the interpersonal. So
Absolutely right.
in jobs, if in the first few days, if people, like you said, are trained to first get themselves sorted out, either the company takes the efforts to sort out these people gradually, either group wise, or you give an individualistic attention to person. So once that person gets sorted out, then he will understand that, okay, because this could be my problem, it could also be other people's problems, and this is how I'm supposed to say. It's just not a leadership activity or leadership approach. It should be every human being's approach, empathy.
Absolutely right. You're so right, Vajanti. I wish it could become a part of, the induction program that people have. Not just companies, I'm talking about, I mean, everywhere. I think, but the thing is, you can have a program and yet people will not change unless there is a willingness to change. And that is the key. The willingness to be compassionate, because compassion is a choice. It's a choice. At the end of the day, it's a choice, right? So you're
If you're
very
telling
right. Yeah.
So if you're
Yes, you were
telling
saying.
people, if you're telling people that you have to be compassionate to others, then the willingness will be less. But if you're going to make them understand that how compassion is necessary for yourself and how you need to get sorted out, probably that could be the first stage for empathy then.
Probably.
And what I have seen is mm, observed is, many a times trainings are done by the company. The
Right.
company will pay for the employees training. If a trainer is asked to pay themselves, okay, you pay for these training, this is going to empower you and all that, I'm sure they refuse, and it will never work out.
True. True. I completely understand. Yeah. It does happen. People don't want. So, if it's done by the company, they'll become a part of it, and may take something unless they've been forced to go for a training. Sometimes, people
Yes.
come in for a training like it's a fun event also. We'll just go
Okay.
there and, I don't have to be at work. So it's an
Ah,
outing. But people who
yes.
really want to change, because at the end of the day, it's something that has to come from within.
And and
So,
and I feel, I don't know, I'm sorry to say, but the work culture in our country is really, it's deficient.
yeah. But places are changing. Places are changing.
Yeah.
People
Places are
are,
changing.
yeah, there is a change coming about. People are recognizing that things need to change, and a lot of, and the problem was that a lot of people didn't know how to change. What do I do to
Yes.
change? So nowadays, I mean, I don't know if you ever sit on your Instagram feed or your WhatsApp feed or your Facebook feed, you'll keep finding being bombarded with different kinds of training programs that are going on about how you can, there are different ways in which you can change. So yes, there are people who are actually now there to teach how one can change, right?
So this is individualistic efforts we are taking. We are
Yeah,
talking about, if the company decides to do something like this,
the
correct?
company decides to do so. Yes, it is even, people do reach out, and there are times when the company takes out. But the biggest challenge that a lot of companies find is taking out that much time. Because see, this kind of a change does not happen in a 1 hour or a 2 hour session. You can just create an awareness. But to create a change, there has to be like a sequential effort, that goes on. And people have to come and, attend those programs regularly, or attend, those sessions at regular intervals, or undergo a full-fledged training, a 2 full-day full-fledged training, or a 3 day, 5 day full-fledged training to be able to create those changes.
I think that must be done, and it should help. And not just that, after that, post training, accountability and evaluation is very important.
True, true. And a lot of companies are taking that up. A lot of companies are taking that up. It, like we said, the change is coming. It's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hope
Okay.
for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
thank
third
you.
thing, yeah, the third thing about becoming a compassionate leader is to be the safe space. So when you're saying create the safe space, I am talking about becoming the safe space. So when I say, how do I become a safe space? Encourage authenticity. Let people be themselves. You know, if somebody is feeling fearful or tired, and that person wants to cry, let them. You know, if tears are coming, let them cry it out. If somebody feels the need to do it, if somebody feels the need to get angry, just create an environment where they can maybe just go and expend that energy, where they can, or talk about their anger. They can come and talk about their anger to someone. So can we become the safe space for these people? Because what happens is each person has a very unique experience of the workplace, right? Unique experience, a unique perspective. Each person's is very different. And their strengths and weaknesses and their capability to take challenges is also very different. The threshold that we say is very different for each individual. So if we can allow people to be themselves and be open enough to share, come share. So if I can be that safe space, or I can create this safe space that, what, anytime you need, you can just walk into my office and tell me what you need, you know, or I can be the safe space for my colleague, my peer, my juniors. Maybe even if somebody senior to me wants to come and share something with me. Of course, for that, it's very important that we ourselves are very grounded. Because what happens is that unless we are grounded, then we will become, very flustered by the whole thing. So we have to be very grounded. But creating this safe space, allowing people to make mistakes. They made a mistake. Don't yell at them. I still remember, during COVID, I didn't go for my classes for yoga for a very long time. And my teacher used to be very particular before, And when I went, I was like, she is going to yell at me. And all she said was, "You're back. Now stay here." That's it. Just that felt so good that, yeah, all the conversation I had had in my mind about what she's going to say and how she's going to scold me, nothing. All she said is, "You're back. Stay here now." And that's it. Having this kind of, compassion, this kind of understanding that you didn't do what you were supposed to do because of some challenges you faced, or you made a mistake, it's okay. Now move on from there. And that is very, very important. So creating this safe space where people can voice their thoughts, their emotions, share, you know and also very important, where if we can share our personal stories of failure, so that, sometimes we feel, oh, he's a leader, he probably never made a mistake. No, they've all made mistakes in their time, and when they share how they made mistakes, there is a feeling of, oh, you know what, he was like me. I was, I am there now. So I can also be like them. It encourages people that I'm not a failure. If he could do it, I can do it. You become a role model for a person who's not doing too well, right? So honest communication, celebrating successes of people, become that safe space is one. So I hope I was able to in today's session, share how uh, creating an environment which is compassionate towards all employees, your colleagues, becoming the safe space, being grounded, and most importantly, having compassion for yourself. How all of this, leads to us creating an atmosphere or leading or creating a culture where every employee feels valued and respected, and therefore it increases productivity. I'm open to questions, if any. Vajanti, you have a
So,
question?
so we have a message by Vajanti also. All
Yeah,
masters a disaster.
yes. No, I really appreciate and congratulate. I want to congratulate Anupama that number one, you have a very compassionate voice. Your voice makes half the work done, like, and as you said, like the words are very important, and the tonality in the body language makes a lot of difference.
True, very true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
your session was nice, and your voice was really impacting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. I
I agree with Vajanti. What you say is not important, but how you say it, that is important.
thank
I
you.
agree with that.
Thank you. I'm just sharing my this thing on. Oh, let me go back. Yeah. So my website's there, and I'm on Instagram at innershift.in. Please do follow me. I do share a few things out there, and yes, I hope to see you all there. And if there is any question, we are going to be connected. Thanks to Sakshi. Do feel free to reach out to me for anything. I do work. I also work with people one on one. I'm a life coach. I work with people one on one. So if you know of anybody who needs any kind of help, I'm here.
So we have Pinky Bajaj mentioning that it was a truly wonderful session.
Thank you, Pinky. Thank you so much, Ashokji, for your words.
Vajanti ji again has put up
Thank
thank
you.
you for a great session.
Thank you so much. Thank
I
you.
also want to
Pleasure.
say thank you so much. It was really, really nice, very, very insightful, and I second what Vaijanti and Ashokji have said that your entire demeanor and the way you present is very beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deepshika. Thank you.
Yes, with this, even I would like to say a very big thank you to you, Anupama, for coming on this platform, accepting our invitation to be here, and increasing the value to another level, and sharing the kind of insight and knowledge that each one of us, we say it at workplace, but we can always apply it at every stage of our life. So thank you so much once again. If
Thank you
anyone
for
has any,
thank you for giving me this opportunity, Sakshi. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Yeah.
So we see you all tomorrow, 4 p.m., same time. Thank you so much, everyone, for your presence as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.